talk about cash flows for just a minute. It's vital to have a good understanding of your inflows and your outflows. Um, and I'm talking about on a personal level. Now, if you think about a business, any successful business, and every successful business for that matter, has generally a revenue department or a receivables department, and then they have a payables or an accounting department. What they don't have, what every successful business does not have, is a budget department. Now, and I'm using air quotes intentionally, business that has budget departments is government. And as we all know, governments blow through their budget every single year. There's a lot of different reasons for that, and I'm not going to get into that. The point being, every business that has to be profitable, which is private companies, because the government doesn't have to be profitable, they just have to demand more money from taxpayers. That's their revenue. That's the government's revenue is simply demanding more taxes, burdening the public at ever greater amounts. So again, I'm not going to go on that tirade for the lack of time and sanity. However, I'm going to talk about profitable businesses, private businesses that have to be profitable, otherwise they don't stay in business. So every profitable business has a revenue department or a receivable department and a payable or an accounting department. And I'm talking about every profitable business. Now, they don't like, depending on the size and scope of the business, they will have those departments specific, and they might have many, many people working in those departments. And for the majority of businesses, which are oftentimes mom and pop businesses or single entity, it's like single owner, single entity businesses, small to medium sized businesses are actually would be considered small businesses, would make up the majority of the businesses in America. They may not have a designated accounting department, because accounting is on the back end, and a revenue department necessarily, but they do have somebody doing those jobs. Often it's the business owner making sure that they have the receivables or the revenue, and then they're doing the accounting. Somebody's doing that job for every profitable business. So if you model your personal finances off of a profitable business model, you would also be watching your revenue or your inflows and your accounting or your outflows. So I'm gonna show an illustration of this and I'm gonna share my screen here and kind of we'll dive into this. And there's actually an app that you can use for this. And in this conversation specifically, I'm going to talk about the revenue or the inflow aspect and what can be used there. Because ultimately, again, budgets don't necessarily. So the concept of a budget is to have an estimated income and expenditure for a set period. Generally, a monthly, like a month is the time frame, generally. The concept of a budget is good, but in practicality, they don't work. And the reason they don't work is because there's no way that you can, with confidence, predict on the first of the month what's going to happen throughout the month and have that come to fruition exactly as you predicted it. And the reason that's not possible is because expenses change on a month-to-month basis. Fuel costs might go up and down. And so what you spend putting gas in your car is going to fluctuate month to month. You cannot predict with accuracy what's going to happen throughout the month, because we really don't know what those cost fluctuations and driving fluctuations are going to be. Food costs fluctuate. What you eat fluctuates. So again, those expenses are going to just kind of mildly fluctuate. Life's and and You might have a tire blowout on your car. You've got to go get that replaced. Well, you cannot foresee that on the first of the month. What's going to happen throughout the remainder of the month. So again, you can plan for it, which is good, and you can have some contingencies in place. And I'm going to get into a like budgeting app or excuse me, and the accounting side of things in a different video. But in this video, we're going to talk about, hey, you can plan for it, like set your intention, and then you can account for what happens. And in accounting for what happened, you say, hey, this is what my goal and objective is. This is the tentative plan, and then we see how it plays out. And it can come out with some degree of accuracy. Like it's going to be close, but not exact. So and again, we'll talk about that back end stuff in another video. This one we're going to talk about the front end. And there's an app that essentially puts visibility on your inflows. It gamifies and promotes savings. That's an ideal thing. That's a massive benefit. The national average savings rate is a whopping 4%, which is pathetic to say the least. An ideal savings percentage is 20% or more. The average savings rate of people using this app that I'm going to introduce is 24%. Okay. That's a massive, massive increase from the 4% to 24%. And like I said, that's average, which means there's a lot of people saving a lot more than 24% using this app. And again, it gamifies it, it promotes it, it encourages it. And so let's dive in here and see what this looks like. Let's see here. Okay. So we'll talk about the movements of money here in a moment. But the application, and again, this is an invite only. This is not something that you can get to just because you want to. This is something you have to be invited to. And by the way, the link is going to be in the description. The link for Currence. It will take you to a page. It will give you some additional videos, some additional context, and then you can always reach out if you want to. Currence is the application. This is a phenomenal cash flow management system, and again, it's a front end. So think of this as a place for your money to go, almost like a bucket or a reservoir for your money to go, and you've got your hand on the tap to determine how much you want coming out of your reservoir spilling into your spending account. So let's talk about the different flows of money. So you've got inflows. Inflows is any new money entering your world. Okay. Any new money entering your world. That's an inflow. An outflow is any money permanently leaving your world. So again, inflow is money coming in your world. So this is from your job. This is from investment gains, investment returns. This might be from who knows? Just any new money coming in that's never been there before. It's new money coming in, and then outflow again is any money that's permanently leaving your world. A capital flow is money that's moving. It's moving, but it's moving within your world. So it stays in your economy, doesn't leave. So it's almost like moving money from your left pocket and putting it in your right pocket. It's moving, but it's not leaving. Okay. And it's not new money. So that's an outflow. So it's staying within your world, but it is moving. All right. So let's talk about financial gravity, and this is why this app was created. Created by a couple of financial geniuses. Um, they've been in the financial world for decades, and they've got a lot of experience. So let's just take an example here. Let's just take somebody making $80,000 a year of earned income. You've got financial gravity working against that money all the time. First of all, you've got taxes. So let's just hypothetically say you're in a 10% tax bracket. That's going to leave you. So income, earned income, you're going to have about 66, 67 per month of gross earned income. After 10% taxes come off, you got about $6,000 left over. Okay. 10% of 6,600 is about 660. And then you've got payroll deductions. So this is going to be retirement contributions, health insurance, voluntary benefits, etc. Let's say we have another $1,000 there. So let's again, we're gonna subtract out 667 here. We're going to subtract out another 1,000 here for all your benefits at work. So what you've got left over is 5,000 after that. So this is the amount of money. This would be net income. Net income is what typically hits your spending account or checking account. And this is the money that you pay your bills with, and you pay your mortgage or your rent and your car payments and things like that. So you got a few different expenses there. You got fixed expenses. Fixed expenses is going to be like a mortgage or rent. It's going to be um, car payments. It's going to be they're fixed expenses. You have to have these. It's going to be utilities. You're going to have variable expenses. Variable expenses might be like food. It might be. Oh, what are some other variable expenses? Well, auto insurance sometimes varies month to month. Cell phone bills might vary month to month. They're necessary but variable. So you got fixed expenses which are necessary, consistent. You got variable expenses which are necessary, again necessary to live, but variable. And then you've got discretionary expenses which you can live without. Pretty, I mean, it's not ideal, but you can live without them. So this is going to be like eating out, vacation spending, um, getting your nails done, getting your hairs done. And now, I understand that for some people that's an absolute necessity, and I get that. I am married, happily married, so I get that. But you get what I'm saying. Like you're not going to perish if you don't get your hair done and your nails done. Uh, so that would be discretionary spending. So after all that, what typically happens, and again, with a 4% savings rate, that's typically so what happens is you get your income, you pay your taxes, you pay your deductions, you pay your expenses, and let's just hypothetically say in this case you're talking about $4,800. And so you have a savings rate of about 4% or a whopping $200 per month. And that's fairly common. It's pretty typical. So the idea with this app is to say, hey, what if we can put something between your income and your expense account? So again, your money goes into that reservoir, you got your hand on the tap, you determine what hits your spending account. By doing that, the idea is if you can increase your savings and move that to effectively create more cash flow engines, then we can take some of the pressure off your paycheck. So if you have a higher savings rate, you might be able to, uh, do rent like rental properties, so real estate or business income. Those things are typically taxed between 0 and 10% commonly. You might have capital gains, which capital gains are taxed at, let's say, 10 to 15%. And you might have additional cash flow engines. It might be dividends or interest income. Possibly, some of these things have a 0% gains rate, so you don't pay taxes on them. Some of these would be maybe some muni bonds and life insurance dividends, as an example. So life insurance dividends. So again, the more of these cash flow engines that you can create, the less pressure you have on this other side of things, which will allow you to save more money. And I've gone into it. There was another video I created about financial freedom and the concept of purchasing assets and letting those alleviate the drain on your check on your normal or active income. Anyway, the idea is if you can create more cash flow engines, you have the ability to alleviate some of the pressure, which allows you to save more money, which allows you to alleviate more of the pressure, and this goes around and around and around. So that's a concept here. Let's talk about what typically happens. And again, if you got that $80,000 coming in, we figured about 5,000 of that per month, so 80,000 or about 667, excuse me, $6,667 of gross income, net income of about 5,000. What typically happens is that all goes into the spending account, and there is a little bit left over that goes into a savings account, savings. So let's call this spending or checking slash checking. And you've got your savings account over here. So you could put a little bit of money over here in savings. And what typically happens is, hey, you didn't have a budget, you didn't have an idea of how the month was going to work out. So you ended up blowing through every bit of that money or maybe a little bit more. So what you have to do is draw that money back out of savings and put that into checking to spend that money as well, because there was no discipline, there was no plan in place. It was just like, hey, and it's generally the little things that add up to be significant and wipe out a lot of money. So this is what we call the treadmill. The treadmill is you just run and run and run and run on this thing and you never get off. So again, the idea with Currence is to put a block or to put something between your paycheck and your spending account. And the idea is, so with this same instance here, let's just say we got that $5,000 coming in over here. This is your income. You have this Currence app in between your paycheck and your spending account. And you say, hey, we're gonna go with a target here. We want a reservoir that has a target that's a multiplier of our spending account. So let's just hypothetically say in this instance that we can that you can, once you account for where you're spending your money, you can say, hey, you know what? I realize that and this is way, way more common than you might think. Uh, I realize that where my money is going is not necessarily creating the value that I want from that money. So I'm going to stop spending in those places. It might be fast food. It might be buying expensive coffees every day. It might be, who knows what it is. Who knows what it is. More often than not, people are spending in their discretionary area money that they like, a lot of money, and they don't even realize it. So once you account for that, where your money is going, you decide if where your money is going is valuable to you. And if it's not, you make some changes. So in this case, we're going to say, hey, you got $5,000 of inflow. Again, that's new money coming in. And after looking and accounting for where your money is going, you realize that, hey, between your fixed expenses and your variable expenses and some discretionary expenses, because you want to live life and you want to enjoy life, so that you're going to have some discretionary expenses. But after looking at everything and accounting for where your money's going, you realize that we can do away with a significant amount of that discretionary spending, cut it down a little bit, and we still enjoy life. So in this case, we're going to say $4,000 needs to hit our checking account every single month to live a comfortable life. That covers our fixed expenses, our variable expenses, and our discretionary expenses. What that's going to allow is our reservoir here is going to build up by $1,000 a month. Okay. And our target reservoir is ideally 2 or 3x your expenses. So in this case, we're going to say, hey, we want a $12,000 reservoir. That's our comfortable reservoir. What that allows is that allows and ensures that $4,000 is hitting your spending account every single month. And when you have unexpected events coming up, because in life, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So when you have unexpected things come up, you've got somewhere to pull from, and you don't have to run to a credit card and get charged 18 to 23% on using somebody else's money. You got the ability to pull from somewhere. What that does, that gives you some flexibility, that gives you more control of your finances. You're not subject to the whims of somebody else giving you money. So an ideal amount, like I said, is 2 to 3 times or 2 to 3x your spending account, not your income, your spending. So in this case, it would be $12,000. So we're going to have a $12,000 reservoir. Now, anything above that $12,000 reservoir, this is where it gets really fun, because now you can start saying, hey, what other cash flow engines can we produce with this? At $1,000 a month, it wouldn't take you very long to start having some investment money. You might buy some stocks. You might be able to invest in some real estate. You might do some muni bonds. I mean, there's a myriad of things that you can invest in to create additional cash flow engines. So what you're going to do is, this would be a capital movement. So $1,000 a month, you hit your reservoir. Anything above that, you would calibrate, and you say, hey, you periodically, let's just hypothetically say every 3 months, you're calibrating, and you're saying, hey, I'm building this at $1,000 a month. So every 3 months, I've got about $3,000 that I can push up to an investment to create additional cash flow engines. So let's just hypothetically say you do that. You push $3,000 up into an investment. Not only do you have the investment, but now it's kicking off $100 a month here. And then you might have $250 a month over here. And then you might have, another $75 a month over here. And you're starting to create additional cash flow engines because you have the ability to invest, and you're getting those returns. And again, the return is not the $3,000 that you invested, it's the money that's producing. It's the income that's producing, which generates this faster and faster and faster, and allows you to uh, achieve financial freedom, achieve freedom, for crying out loud. Uh, which I can't even tell you how many clients I work with that, I mean, that's their goal and objective, is financial freedom. And in some, like, say they tell me some form of financial freedom, whether it's, hey, I want freedom of time, I want more time with my family, I want the freedom to do what I want with my day. I don't want to be tied to a job. The variations go on and on and on, but what they're all pointing to is, I want financial freedom, which is freedom of time, because you don't have to worry about money anymore. You don't have to worry about your expenses being taken care of. So if you produce enough cash flow engines that are producing passive cash flow, then hopefully, and ideally, you'll have enough eventually to cover your expenses, and you're financially free. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope this helps. Again, the app that I use personally and that I recommend is called Currence. It is an invite only. So feel free to use the link below. Again, you can link through in the description here. There's going to be a link for Currence specifically. You can link through that. You can watch some additional information on it, watch some videos, and then you can connect with me and get signed up for it. Now, some of those cash flow engines might be, that might lead into some type of personal banking system or life insurance policy that can be used as a personal banking system. And we can get into that as well. And I've got some other videos that talk about how much is ideal to have on a consistent basis to be able to fund that. Well, here again, understanding your cash flows will get you in a position where you can start thinking about those other things, because unfortunately, far too many people just have no idea where their money is going, but they're hemorrhaging cash left and right, which if you continue that, you'll never get ahead. So click on the link below, and of course, like and subscribe. Sure appreciate that all the time, and hopefully this is beneficial. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.